it's really just understanding and taking the time to understand what your money is doing. And if that means something like, oh, well, I want to spend this much on this because this brings me joy, but I need to bring in more money. Well, that could be possible. Why is that not possible?
You can decide to be in a fixed mindset, and that's okay. You're happy with the way things are. You're going to keep on doing what you've always done. Or you can choose to be in a growth mindset and say, okay, there's some things that I just don't know, and I'm prepared to learn.
Divorce can be emotionally and financially overwhelming. That's why I'm teaming up with Sunny Wishart, president and founder of A La Carte Financial and a certified financial planner. We will show you how to understand all things money without feeling ashamed, overwhelmed, embarrassed. You will learn more, ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Welcome to Money with Sunny. Let's get into it.
Good morning, Sunny.
Good morning, Wendy.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Money with Sunny. Today, we're going to dive into mindset success as the process. You know, you, me, Sunny, we've all grown up and we have a way of thinking about money, a way of thinking about saving, spending, investing. And often we don't even consider or think about what that is. So today we're going to dive into the importance of mindset, what's kind of holding us back, what's keeping us stuck in even wanting to understand ourselves. So, Sunny, I'll let you take it away. And what is getting in the way? What is stopping us from wanting to even understand what our mindset is?
I have so much to say about this. It's going to be tough to keep it in a reasonable amount of time. But just after the many years of working with women and families, you see that the bottom line is that, like, I have to use an analogy. I think it's the only way to really explain it, but by is being healthy. And how do you get healthy? It's so individual. It means something different for me than it means to you. I know my body, I know my ailments, I know how what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And then you work as you grow to understand what works and what doesn't work for you. And then you get healthy. And you can move forward with this knowledge. So then there's the people who don't take the time to reflect on how their body works in certain situations, don't bother, and they get more ill. It's so similar to finances. You don't take the time to sit and reflect your lifestyle, your savings patterns, your debt patterns, your even your income. We've got feelings and like limiting beliefs around careers, income potentials, and we can limit ourselves with these thoughts. And what's going to make us financially healthy? Well, spending some time just understanding what makes us feel good, what makes us feel bad, why we're doing what makes us feel bad, and why aren't we doing more of what makes us feel good. And money is so much like that. I call it financial health because it is having an understanding, but we don't, because money is a dirty little secret we grew up with. We do not talk about it. And so you're going to get information about money from your parents or your uncle or your sibling and what they're doing and why they're geniuses. And that's all you know. But you don't spend any time going, well, what is going to work for me? You don't do what works for other people, and not getting real about understanding what it is that makes you feel good. And sometimes what makes you feel good is an unhealthy money pattern. You know, I like to eat things I shouldn't eat, and that makes me feel good. But just making sure that I understand that and I incorporate that into a balanced, healthy lifestyle. Because otherwise, we move forward when this is what I see a lot, and how we've all been raised with the money doesn't grow on trees strategy is that we feel scarcity constantly and it's humming underneath everything we do with money. And we're always having these feelings, but we're not going to talk about them. We're not going to think about it. We're just going to go do what makes you feel good and is financially unhealthy, perhaps, and then sweep it under the rug and move along. But if you're doing this in a personal health way, you can't get away with that. All of a sudden, your clothes don't fit, or all of a sudden, you're at the doctor's, you're getting diagnosis, and you're on medicine, and it just doesn't go on, and you just can't get away with it. It's usually has an end date. So I call it getting financially healthy is going to help your mindset and having balance.
So I don't understand money. I can give a personal experience because I dove into my finances and my money situation a few years ago. Prior to that, I earned money, I spent money, and I didn't give too much thought to it until, like you said, I was panicked and freaked out because I couldn't afford to pay a bill. I think scarcity was definitely humming under in my life, my whole life for 50 years. And it was just grab from Peter to pay Paul, take from this Visa to pay off the MasterCard, do this to do that. And it was just a way of handling my money. So I know personally that I felt anxious. I always felt like at any moment, any time, I could be living in a tent under a bridge. And it was real, it was a scary feeling. And like all of us, we have money bumps in the road and stuff happens. Sometimes you get a little extra cash, sometimes you lose a bit of cash. So that doesn't sound very healthy. That sounds like it could use some improvement. But okay, where do you start? I mean, I can talk a bit about my story and I will, but what do you recommend? What would be kind of a 1, 2, 3 plan of action that's simple, that doesn't feel too difficult, and it just be a good place to kind of start? And also, I always think, you know what, we're all in this together. I mean, people seem to have it all together and they seem to have all their money stuff together, but you never know. I think there's a lot more people that are unsure and unclear and worried than you might think, but we never want to appear to be unsure about our financial status, and we certainly wouldn't want to talk about that with too many people. So it's just everybody's got a big smile on their face and it looks like things are going well. That's not true. I speak with women all day long and that is not true. And Sunny, I'm sure you can attest to that. So maybe help us with a 1, 2, 3 on what we can do to improve our financial health.
Hmm. I think the first step is that balance. So just what I recommend what people do is scroll in their historical money, what's coming in, what's gone out, and find where your thing is. Everyone has a thing. What's your thing? And where do you feel this joy of spending? And then you end up beating yourself up about. It's like understanding what that is first, because we're too busy sweeping it under the rug all the time. And just to give examples, because sometimes I find these things vague. So I like to give examples. I know lots of people who like to spend good money on hair, nails, cigarettes, weed, whatever. And these are things that we're all going to feel guilty about. And maybe just looking it in the eye and saying, this is what I like to spend my money on, and include it as part of your plan. Make sure that ends are meeting, make sure that you move forward, and stop being so hard on ourselves about these things. Because it's that, again, that balance. You can't eat salads all the time. You're going to just burn out and go nuts at the buffet. So say, I have a little treat on this day and this day, or I have a nice big whatever. Like, make sure you treat yourself, because there's joy. It brings you joy, and stop stealing your joy, because we always feel this scarcity feeling like we're not allowed. We should only be allocating our money to bills, food, which is taking all our money, and saving for retirement. That's it. Nowhere else. No joy. Good luck. No family should ever take a trip. And I don't think that's fair. I think we need to live fairly. We need to be kinder to ourselves and not go on the hamster wheel of getting stuck, where we try, say you give it a good kick at the can and you really pinch your pennies, then there's that scarcity feeling rearing its head. And that's going to come to an end, and you're going to want to go do something kind of crazy to feel a little bit better. So understanding what makes you feel good and just count it. Stop feeling bad about it.
Hmm. Brene Brown talks a lot about societal scarcity and the opposite of scarcity being enough. And I really like her. That's how I tend to look at things, especially when they're difficult and money is difficult. So rather than living in scarcity, realize that there is enough and there's enough for everyone. It's not a zero sum game where some people make it all and you make none. There is enough and you are enough. And that mindset, that little shift, then will allow you to buy that beautiful outfit or buy that pack of cigarettes or that case of beer and say, that's okay. This is my joy. This is where I find happiness. And maybe someday you stop smoking and you decide, oh, okay, it's not the healthiest thing to do, and I decide that I'm going to go out to eat twice a week. We evolve, we change every day, every year, and that's great too. But just being honest with yourself about where you're at right now and saying, I'm enough and I deserve this. So I think number one is understanding where you're at and being kind and compassionate with yourself. Is that right, Sunny?
Absolutely.
And what would number two be? What's something practical that I can do right now that can help me to shift my mindset from being so fixed and maybe into more of a growth mindset?
Oh boy, that's a good question. How to that stuff. So like when it comes to money, I'm looking at the dollars and cents, right? So like I say, it's really just understanding and taking the time to understand what your money is doing. And if that means something like, oh, well, I want to spend this much on this because this brings me joy, but I need to bring in more money. Well, that could be possible. Why is that not possible? To just say either I need to ask for a raise or I've talked to a lot of business owners recently, and people are approaching left, right, and center saying, hey, I need my income to keep up with these costs. It's not that we're stuck earning this income. Don't forget that so to shift, I do remind particularly people who are early mid-career, like you still have a lot more career left. And this isn't the way it will always be. We're in a season. So whether it's early life stage, mat leaves, builders, where you're starting to get a handle on the debts, you have a bit of a strategy in place to just start saving, builders and savers, but understanding that this is where you're at today and this isn't forever. So many people get hung up on this is forever. Like you're 41 years old. Well, are you retiring next year? Are you working another 10, 20 years at least? So that's a long way to take a career still. You're not sailing into the sunset yet.
Hmm. So number two might be a future focus and planning. So number one is understanding where you're at right now, being kind and compassionate with yourself. And number two is plan to make change, how to increase your income, create a future focus plan, maybe with someone like Sunny, who you can get a plan in action. And that might be number two. How about number three? Let's think about one more thing. I'm sitting here, I'm just overwhelmed, I'm stuck. My story is this is how I've always done it. How can I do it any different? I'm stuck in this mindset and way of thinking. What else can I do?
So the one thing that I gently remind my clients often is that's okay. Get back on. Like we all fall off the wagon. It's very normal. And money can be an addiction. You could be addicted to whatever it is that you want to do with your money. And to just create that balance isn't easy. And you're likely going to not nail it out of the gates by implementing some balance. It's not going to just happen for the rest of your life. You're going to go back into those states where I can't do this. I'm in scarcity again. Okay. Now get back on the wagon. If we do enough strategies, I tend to implement fail safes that let you fall off the wagon and it doesn't ruin you financially or put you in a spot that makes you super down. And I've had clients come back and say, I fell off the wagon, but because I did this that we implemented, it doesn't look so bad, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
because this is going to happen and it's okay. Then you don't feel as bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to get back on.
Yeah. It's not just one little slip and it's all over. Yeah, exactly. And that's the scarcity mindset. I mean, when you're in scarcity and you're scared and you're trying something new and you're implementing a new plan and you're not sure what you're doing, it's not easy, but it's okay. That's why you have people like Sunny. I'm a coach. I help people with this all the time from a mindset perspective. Sunny looks at the numbers. She helps people come up with several different plans based on where they are right now. So this is a learning process. There's lots of books you can read. Sunny and I were talking about a book that she has right now that you might want to pick up. Great book, The Psychology of Money. It's Morgan Housel. And, start reading, listening to podcasts, learning, growing. You can decide to be in a fixed mindset, and that's okay. You're happy with the way things are. You're going to keep on doing what you've always done. Or you can choose to be in a growth mindset and say, okay, there's some things that I just don't know and I'm prepared to learn. And it's your choice.
I think we're in a nice age now where we're recognizing these things that weren't ever recognized. I come from wealth management corporate background. We never ever talked about this stuff. It was plug and play the numbers and that's it. Send the people on their way. Do this because I said so. And it's so nice now that we can say, oh no, there is so much more going on here. And you can't just tell people what to do and it's not black and white.
Hmm.
So I'm learning constantly, which is why I'm starting this book because I see it all the time. And it's time that we started addressing this way more clearly.
Yeah, the attachments that people have to money, the feelings associated with money, the emotions, the thoughts, and then it's the actions. Like our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions are all who we are, and they're all joined. So if your thoughts, your feelings around money are a certain way, if you're scared, then how are you going to act? You're going to act scared. If your thoughts and feelings around money are at any moment I could lose it all, well, how are you going to act? Maybe a little more frugal than you need to be. If your thoughts and feelings around money are abundance and I can always make lots and I can always make more, that might just be what happens in your life. So it's part of, yeah, the psychology of money, the creation of money is money's a resource. And yes, we're not all financially stable. We're not all financially wealthy. Everybody's in a different economic status, but we can all learn and grow some more if we want to. I learn every day. Yeah. Yeah. I never ever know enough. And I have friends like Sunny that can help me. I can just pick up the phone and ask away. So, is there any final words that you want to speak to our audience about?
I'm just going to bring it home to find that balance and stop beating yourself up. Be kind.
Mm, find the balance.
Mhm.
And be kind and compassionate to yourself. I love that. And remember, you are worthy, you are loved, and you do belong. And until next time, have a great rest of your week.